What up, gamers? I'm Jason.
I'm Julie.
And today on Dice and Dragons, we are going to be reviewing the latest in the Rising series from the Boardgames. This is the Batman Who Laughs Rising, once again designed by Patrick Marino and Andrew Wolf. Now I'll toss it over to Julie, who's going to tell you more about the game itself.
So it's a cooperative game that plays 2 to 4 players. It's intended for ages 15 and above, and the box says it plays in about 60 minutes. We played it at the 2 and at 4 player count. I'd say at 2 player count we were right around that 60 minutes.
No, we were actually a lot faster than the 60 minutes. The second time we were almost at like half hour.
Okay. So I guess it depends on the speed at which the 4 players play.
Yeah, I think definitely the familiarity with the game will make it a lot faster. There's also some new mechanics that you will see in our setup and how to play that definitely make this the fastest of the Rising games. Whereas Thanos Rising said 60 minutes, and I call that a bold-faced lie, especially if you're playing 4 people. So what are you doing in the Batman Who Laughs Rising? Well, the Batman Who Laughs, the character you can see on the box, a terrifying amalgam of Batman and the Joker, has come through from the Dark Multiverse with his Dark Knights, different evil versions of Batman who also have the powers of the Justice League. They are now trying to destroy the multiverse and all of the stuff that we love about the DC Universe. I got a little confused there because it's like the Prime Multiverse. Is it the New 52? If you're a DC fan, you know what I'm talking about. In any case, it's the main DC Universe. So I think we've talked enough about the game, Julie. What time is it?
It's time to grab our drinks.
Grab our best friend and fellow hero.
We're going to take it to the table one more time.
One more time. Let's beat him this time. Now we're going to take a quick look at the components for the Batman Who Laughs Rising. And as usual, we will start with the rule book. So nice rule book. On the back, we do have a quick reference guide. We've got all the information we need as to how to set up the game. I like the layout, the way everything looks. And if you're familiar with the Rising game, you can probably just take a look at the additional rules as well as the Dark Knight track rules, because that's where we're going to see the differences. We have the board here divided up into 3 sections. A little bit of damage on the board from the miniature. So as you can see, we've got this, well, not really miniature, this nice figure for the Batman Who Laughs. Quite terrifying. We do have his dice, which will tell you how he's going to move, what's going to happen, and I'm guessing that's the amount of cubes for the Dark Knights track. Now, I'm filming this before we actually get it to the table because I want to get everything nice and sleeved as soon as possible. So here are the Dark Knights track. As you can see, there's different colors like the other games with different abilities. Bonus tokens may not be drawn or used this turn, so keep that in mind. This one actually seems to take longer. I'm interested to see how this is all going to work out. We're going to continue across the top here. So we, of course, have the villains, Evil Robins, the Court of Owls, the Strigaday. They each have their own abilities that will trigger when the Batman Who Laughs is pointing in the locations that they're at. We've got the Murder Machine, the Dawnbreaker, the Red Death, the Drowned, the Merciless, and the Devastator. So these creepy, evil versions of Batman. We also have the bonus tokens here, which can give you an extra die corresponding to the color. Maybe take 2 damage away from your heroes or give you extra symbols. We even move back to Dark Knight's track. We have the tracking cubes here, then the damage cubes, and then these are the tokens, well, deployment tokens for each of your teams to show where they're going. Now we have 4 dice, each corresponds to a team and how you're going to acquire their allies. So purple for determination. The difference is that each die has a double symbol that corresponds to their color. So obviously Batman for determination, Green Lantern for purpose, Wonder Woman for power, and Hawkgirl for the Justice team. Now, the Determination team has the ability you can remove 1 damage from any hero, and then if you roll a certain amount of the Batman symbols, you'll get a bonus. Has your die pool listed there. So different heroes are Batman, Robin, Nightwing, Harley Quinn, Batgirl, Duke Thomas, Red Hood, and Constantine. For the power team, they'll be led by Wonder Woman, so you need to use 2 of the power symbols, but I guess that's because your die pool is all red. You get Wonder Woman, you can get extra die by having more power heroes, Superman, The Flash, Cyborg, Plastic Man, Deathstroke, Red Tornado, and Dream of the Endless, who I actually don't know as a character. Here we got the Purpose team, led by Green Lantern, Clayface, Green Arrow, Aquaman, Hawkman's in there, the Joker, Mr. Terrific, and of course there's Martian Manhunter. You've got to have the core Justice League guys in the game. Then lastly is the Justice team led by Hawkgirl. There you can see her die pool. So of course Hawkgirl, Commissioner Gordon, GCPD Officer, Zatanna, Blue Beetle, Dr. Fate, James Gordon Jr., and Alfred Pennywise. Now a little bit behind the scenes, I am filming this before we get it to the table. So we will be teaching you how to use the Dark Knight track at least, as well as how to set up the game. So keep it right here as we come back at you with our setup, teach you some of the differences about the game compared to the other Rising games, and then we'll be coming at you with our review. Now we're going to teach you how to set up the Batman Who Laughs Rising. Now in order to make sure that we have a nice visual, I will not be able to complete the full setup because it is quite the table hog. So we'll just start with the basics. You're going to place the Batman Who Laughs board on the table. You then take the figure and you will place him in the center. What direction he's pointing is entirely up to you. I like to start him out in direction 1. You'll need to make sure that the dice are nearby for the game. You'll then need to set up the Dark Knights track. Now the Dark Knights track is made up of 4 tiles. I just have 2 of them out there. So as you can see, we would place another one and you'll notice that the corners do match up. You'd place the last one here for the Batman Who Laughs to set up the track. But as I wanted to keep this a little more zoomed in and we're not going through a full game, I didn't want to set up all of them. So these 2 tiles will not be set up, but what you will do for the Batman Who Laughs tile, and I will bring that back as we get later on, so you'll see we have all of the Dark Knights. We're going to take the Batman Who Laughs and you will place him on the tile face up. He will have to be activated to come into play, then he will be considered in the location that he is pointing to. So that's how you would set up that part. Now, this is going to be a 2-player game. For the 2-player game, we've selected Batman and Wonder Woman. We could have also either selected Green Lantern and Hawkgirl. Now, you notice I've laminated the player boards. Also, the cards are sleeved. One of the reasons why I did that was to protect them. So what we then do is we take our 2 leaders. We're going to put them into play with their teams. So here we've got Batman. Just slide the dice over. Here we've got Wonder Woman. Now Hawkgirl and Green Lantern will be returned into the Batman Who Laughs deck. So there we take all of the cards. We're going to shuffle them up and then we're going to deal out the different heroes and villains onto the board. So you just flip them over as so and place them in their different locations. Now, for the moment, I'm going to put the dice, well, I'm going to move the dice off camera, actually. It's going to give us a lot more room. We're at Tornado, so we're having a very nice deployment, actually, because we have yet to get any of the villains. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Actually, having no villains is going to make it a little easier. So what I'll do during the how to play is we're going to go 1 round like this, then we'll discuss the villains as well as how to defeat the Batman Who Laughs. It's also going to let me discuss the Dark Knights and how they work. You'll also notice that these Dark Knight cards have a different back, and that one's upside down, which makes sense. Putting a joke on me, the Batman Who Laughs, not a nice guy. So we've got the cards. You're going to need to shuffle all of them up except for the Batman Who Laughs, as we showed you, and you're going to place them on the Dark Knights track. Now, one of the things that I do have to do, however, this is a 2-player game. This purple side is for a 4-player game. So what you do is you flip over the tiles. The yellow side is what you're going to be using in a 2-player game. You then deal Dark Knights face down onto the track. And as we're now all set up and ready to go, normally you'd have the other 2 in play. I will bring some tokens that I have off camera, just on camera to make sure that they are visible. You'll also want to make sure that the bonus tokens are available as well. So I'm just going to take a few of those and put them out. So there you have it. We have now set up the Batman Who Laughs Rising. Now keep it right here as I'm going to teach you how to play. Now, how do you play the Batman Who Laughs Rising? Well, there was one thing that I forgot from the setup phase. Each player will also have a deployment token, so we'll assign those. The ones that you're not using go back in the box. Now, you can use these player sheets also as your turn order sheets if you're playing with less players, but you do have them on the back of all the player sheets. So it tells you right now, you need to place team deployment token in a deployment zone. So Batman will go first. I mean, this is Dark Knight's battle, so we really should have him go. Now you notice that Batman has a special ability. If you have another determination hero, so a purple hero represented by the Batman symbol on your team, you'll be able to roll an extra die. Now, Nightwing is probably the easiest to get. Actually, Harley Quinn may be a little easier. She also has some good healing abilities, but the advantage is Nightwing will let us put any symbol, any Batman symbol, to any facing. So we'll try going after Nightwing. May not be a great idea. Now the next thing you need to do is roll and resolve the Batman Who Laughs die. Then you will roll and assign any hero dice. So we'll teach you the hero dice in a moment. So we roll the Batman Who Laughs die. Now this is a great example. So we have one cube on the Dark Knights track, and then he's going to be moving left. So decide which way you want him to move. I always have him move to the player's left, meaning he's going to rotate to this location. Now, you'll notice that we have this starburst, or not really a starburst, but a circle. That means that if there's a power available on the Dark Knight's track, he will also trigger it. What will happen now is that the Batman Who Laughs will attack all the heroes in that location. If Batman was here, he would take damage as well. So we'll just showcase what happened if Batman was there. I take a damage. We also assign 1 damage to each of these heroes. But that's not the case. I did not go to that location. Let's remove the damage. Now, for example, let's say we replace the GCPD officer by the Strigidae. Then you would trigger the effect on the villain cards. So if the Batman Who Laughs is at this location, you'd add an extra damage to each Power Team hero and Justice Team hero. So what would then happen? So if this was in the spot of GCPD officer, you do 1 more damage to Red Tornado and 1 more damage to Dream of the Endless. And that's how the villains will work. It's a little bit different with the Dark Knights, but you get the idea. Now, if you're wondering if these abilities trigger all the time, they do not. You may get a right or a left. Without the starburst, you get the ha ha ha, or the ha, means that he will not move and remain at the same location. Now, we mentioned a little earlier, if you are in the late stages of the game, the Batman Who Laughs is considered to be in the location that he's pointing. All right, so we'll take a look at what Batman's die pool is, which is 3 red dice and 1 purple dice. So we're trying to get Nightwing. So we will now roll and assign our hero dice. And that was just not a great roll. And I'm realizing I made a mistake here, just because of the way I'm looking at it. This line is not that clear. It's actually Robin who is in this location. So we do have, we can actually acquire the Dream of the Endless right now. And that's probably a really good play. Alfred Pennyworth is good, but we want to get Nightwing. So we have some potential to get Nightwing. We're going to need to assign at least 1 of the dice. So let's actually show you what would happen if I got Dream of the Endless. So we could assign these 2 symbols to him. We would assign the Green Lantern symbol, and then we would acquire the hero. Now, if I thought he had damage, we would then acquire the hero, put him on our team, and remove all his damage. Now, one of the reasons why I do not want to get this hero is because he works well for Wonder Woman, and her ability would be get another hero. She would get an extra die, and this lets her change the Wonder Woman face to any value. So we're going to make the riskier move, not the smarter move, the riskier move. We're going to put that Batman well, not the Batman symbol. We're going to put that Green Lantern symbol out, and hopefully we will roll Batman symbol. We've got a 1 in 6 chance of doing it on these dice. So let's do it. And I neglected to put out the cube from when I rolled earlier. So we rolled. Luckily, I got the symbol. Now, do I have to stop? No. And you'll notice that I have to assign 1 die every turn. So for example, we're going to keep going here because I have acquired Nightwing, but I do have a chance of acquiring Alfred Pennyworth. So we'll make the roll. We happen to get Green Lantern symbol and a Wonder Woman symbol. Now, I can choose to assign them to another card. That may or may not work for me. Well, I could assign it here, but in reality, I'm actually just forfeiting it because I will not be able to acquire it. Can roll again. Now, you may be wondering why I'm rolling again. I clearly can't acquire any of the heroes. Is because I can use this Batman symbol that I luckily got to heal damage on a hero. And taking a look at the cards that we have, Red Tornado is pretty cool. The GCPD officer can give you an extra purple dice. We also have Robin, who will let you draw some bonus tokens. So I'm going to use that ability because it can be used to heal any hero to heal Robin. Now, take a look at what we've got going on. So we've rolled an assigned dice. So we resolve hero card abilities when activated. So that was the hero card ability that we just resolved. We now recruit the heroes. So we shall recruit Nightwing, who now joins our team. And then we'd assign damage to villains. There are no villains out, so we will not assign any damage. We then remove defeated villains and heroes. No one's been defeated. We will then move the Dark Knights to the top of the deck. So that happens when this track is full. So for example, if I had rolled a 2, we would have filled up the track. This Dark Knight card would have been moved to the top of the deck and then been revealed and placed into play. As that was not the case, we had a strong roll. What I then do is I'm going to take the next card and reveal it. It is Red Hood. So I return my deployment token to Batman. We're just going to place it there as we've acquired a hero. And it will now be Wonder Woman's turn. And we already said where she wants to go. The same location. She would like to acquire Dream of the Endless. We place our deployment. We roll the dice. So, ha ha ha. He does not go anywhere. We get 1 cube. And we deal, once again, 1 damage to all of the heroes in the location. So for Wonder Woman, she has to roll 4 dice, and her doubles, she needs a double, will remove any 1 damage from a hero. Now, on her opening roll, and every hero has this, if, for example, Wonder Woman rolls a total of 6 Wonder Woman symbols, for Batman, it is 4 of the Bat symbols, you may add a damage to any villain. So you'll be able to damage a villain that is in play. So just keep that in mind. We'll go ahead and just roll it again. I wanted to show that example for the opening abilities. So here we go. So it's not bad. It's not great. We need to get that lantern symbol. So since we have such a high chance of getting the Wonder Woman symbol, I'm just going to play 1, take my chance, and roll again. Oof. That really did not go my way, but maybe we'll get Alfred Pennyworth instead. Take another chance. Well, we've got the double. So now we can either go for a 1 in 6 chance on the lantern, or we can take the Alfred Pennyworth character. Now, what I would do in an actual play is take Alfred Pennyworth because his ability is really cool. But we're going to go for broke here. This is a how to play, and we don't happen to get it, so we will not be acquiring a hero. So that can happen during your turn. Things just don't go your way. Now, if we take a look at what's going on, we do not recruit any heroes, nor do we assign damage to villains. We don't draw any bonus tokens. So next what will happen is this card will go to the top of the deck. Now we're going to imagine, just going back in time, that I made the save play and I acquired Alfred Pennyworth. Perfect. So now we take a look at the top card from the deck. It is the Drowned. And we're going to discuss how you attack villains and take a look at what will happen next. So we'll probably play just through 2 more rounds, and then we'll call it at that. So the Dark Knights track is only advanced twice. I'm going here because I want to get rid of the drowned. Roll the dice. So luckily, we don't set off that, but he does turn left. Turning left means that both, and I dropped one of those, so it's helping me out. So we have 1 damage on both Batman and Nightwing as I'm in the location. Red Hood takes the damage, and do the Endless. Now, with the drown, the Batman who laughs is at this location. Add 1 damage to all heroes on the active player's team. Meaning, that's right, each of them will take 2 damage. So I may want to consider healing. We've got Red Hood there. So now my die pool is the 3 die and a purple die, but we can also get another purple dice because Nightwing is on our team, triggering Batman's ability. Set these dice aside. Can't forget, advance the track. Let's roll them. Let's see what we get. No, we're actually in a good spot right here because we can deal 1 damage to, well, not 1 damage, you can assign 1 die. Now we can choose to re-roll them all, but as I'm looking for a double bat, I'm going to see if I can actually take a risk and maybe get Red Hood. I like to play the game a little riskier, but we'll see how it goes. Now I have the chance, I could actually flip this over to the Justice symbol to increase my chances of getting Red Hood, but it's not good. We want to play a little safe because the main goal is to get rid of the drowned. So we make the roll, and what do you know? We've got the double, meaning we'll be assigning damage to villains. So we'll make another roll. We got the bat symbol, which is all right because we can use Nightwing's ability to flip this to the double bat. I'll just take a chance here. And no luck. Unfortunately, I'm not able to acquire Red Hood. Now, I will gain a bonus token from assigning damage, but the one thing that I want to stress is that bonus tokens may be used during any player's turn. So let's say, for example, Wonder Woman had a bonus token. She could use it to trigger my ability. But the powers that you have on your heroes, as well as your hero boards, cannot be triggered by a bonus token unless you've got a card that says so. Now you may be wondering why I'm only dealing 1 damage to the drowned. I clearly rolled enough to defeat them. As for the rules, we can only damage the villains 1 at a time. So unfortunately, I was not able to acquire Red Hood, but still had a solid play, dealt 1 damage to the drowned, and I will then take a bonus token for Batman, which is going to be the Green Lantern symbol, which can be used to help Wonder Woman. So that's pretty cool. So we're going to remove our symbol. Now, I accidentally took Wonder Woman's off camera, but she's actually going into the same location. Roll the dice. And lucky, we're getting a good roll. So let's take a look at what happened if we had a less good roll, because this is going to be really the last turn that I play. If we'd rolled this L, so we'd have to add a damage to the least damaged hero on your team. So even though he's continuing his move left, if that was the roll, we'd have to damage Wonder Woman or Alfred Pennyworth. It's up to us. All heroes at this location take a damage, and we're doing pretty good. Now you may be wondering if the drowned is the only type of villain. Well, we showed it earlier. There are other villains that are mixed in with the heroes that may come into play, like the Strigaday, the Evil Robins, Court of Owls. So keep that in mind. But we're not in a bad position now. Unfortunately, Wonder Woman still only has 4 dice, but we may be able to get something good. So that's actually not a bad roll. We've got the double Wonder Woman, so we can deal a damage there. We actually have the Green Lantern symbol, but we don't want to spend it. Batman has one. We really want to get rid of the drowned and see if we can. Well, we won't be able to do it, actually, unfortunately. If we take out the drowned, we won't be able to get the Dream of the Endless. So we can just use Alfred Pennyworth's ability to flip this to the bat. and then hopefully we'll get the chance. Well, we got the Wonder Woman. Let's see what we're going to get here if we roll. So no luck, that just wasn't a good turn. Now, if we've been a little lucky and got the double Wonder Woman, Batman would have been able to salvage the turn and let her recruit the hero. So there you have it. That's really how you play the Batman Who Laughs Rising. I'd forgotten to add another token of the track. So keep that in mind. Make sure to do it. You'll see that the ability is now changed. This was the previous one. This is the new one. This card goes to the top, so the next time a villain is defeated or a hero is acquired, it will be a Dark Knight that comes into play. Now let's take a look at how you win the game by attacking the Batman Who Laughs. So we're going to remove the Dark Knights track here. We're going to put this into play and the Batman Who Laughs card next to it, because once he's been activated and comes into play, this is his ability. So we're going to imagine I've got more dice and more heroes. I'm not going to really recruit them because that just going to make things a little messier than they need to be. So you will lose the game if this track is ever filled, the entire track. Take back Wonder Woman symbol. We're going to deploy Batman. We'll say we're going to bet he's going to roll the ha ha ha. And he does actually, so not too bad. But as you can see, you can run out of time very quickly if you roll the doubles. So what will happen here? Well, I will now take a damage to all members of my team. All the heroes here, which you can use your imagination and pretend they've been changed. Some of them may have died. If 10 heroes die, you will lose the game. So they'll take damage. We did get this, which means the active player must assign 1 damage to any hero on their team for each villain in play. So that's going to be pretty bad. There's only 1 villain in play on the board. Well, you could also consider the Batman Who Laughs. That's not quite clear, but we'll just make it harder and say that he's in play. So you can see you can get a lot of damage. Well, this is Batman's roll. We'll see we've acquired heroes like the Red Hood, so we can now roll 3 extra purple dice. Just move these off camera. We're going to roll here. We're going to roll all the dice, and we're going to try to attack the Batman Who Laughs. Now, in order to damage him, we need to spend 3 Batman symbols, 3 of the termination symbols, or 3 of the justice symbols. So the Wonder Woman power symbols are not good. Well, I got lucky. He stayed there so we can engage him. Let's imagine, though, that I was here. Any hero may discard an unassigned die to move to the Batman Who Laughs location. Now, what does that mean? Well, if you've got a lot of dice, or let's say you're feeling lucky or risky, and as we got some purple die, we'll do what we could. For example, say, you know what? I'm here. I'm going to recruit the Endless Dream. I will discard this die, move to this location. And I did have a Batman symbol, so I could flip that to 2. Then we could just try to get the amount to damage him. Well, guess what? We've got enough. We can damage the Batman Who Laughs. Now, smarter move would have been to try to reroll these dice and heal my heroes. But just to give you an example as to how it works. So basically, you will have to damage him 4 times unless you happen to have some cards. And I'm looking for the specific one that I know that will let you do it, which is the Flash, which will let you deal more damage to the villain. So you may assign more than 1 damage to a villain during your turn. You also have the special ability from Wonder Woman, which will let you assign another damage to a villain potentially. Now, whether you can do that above the 1 when you're rolling dice, it's not clear, but it says added damage, not assigned. So keep in mind whenever you're playing a game, those assign and add make a big difference. So there you have it. That is how you're going to play Dark Knight's Metal. Hopefully you're going to be able to defeat the Batman Who Laughs and save the multiverse. Now keep it right here. Julie and I will be coming back at you with our review of this version, this Rising game. So the Batman Who Laughs Rising. What did you think of the game?
Definitely the fastest version of this game by far.
Yeah. So why don't we actually just talk about it right away? I'll explain the mechanics. If you happen to skip over the review and the how to play, in this version of the game, you have what's known as the Dark Knights track. Now, as you progress down the Dark Knights track, the evil versions of Batman will be added to the hero deck. They'll come into play immediately as the track progresses. There will also be more powers given to the Batman Who Laughs. But what that does is it creates a steady progression of villains until the Batman Who Laughs himself is in play. And then if you're able to beat him, well, you win the game.
Yeah, so I definitely felt like we were getting overwhelmed by villains more than with other games. Well, depending on how the decks was being shuffled, right, in the previous games. Because
so why don't you just clarify your statement? I agree with you with regards to the decks being shuffled, but someone might be watching this for the first time. So what other games are we talking about?
So the other Rising games, the other versions of the Rising games, the villains, the nemesis are shuffled into the deck. So it's totally random when they come up. There are games that we've had in the other versions where we've had half of the cards out were villains, and there are other times where the villains are all at the bottom half, and then you get overwhelmed at the end. In this case, as you said, there's a steady progression, and you get, if you don't address the villains right away, basically, it's that cost of resources, and that's part of the game. You have to decide if you're upgrading your player and your team, or if you're going after villains, and it's a risky proposition. And we lost a few times because we upgraded our players. We got greedy, and we had really, really strong players and teams, but
we had some bad luck. So that's actually one of the things that I have to say about this game. I feel like this is as swingy as Thanos Rising and Star Wars Darkseid Rising. We both felt that the Harry Potter game, with all the luck that there was, it was still a lot more deterministic. It was definitely probably the longest version of the game, playing to get through to Voldemort. So it's interesting to see this one where you sort of have that Voldemort mechanic of this final guy that you have to beat, but this progression track which really speeds things up. And the biggest problem for us was the Red Death, who is the character that makes you roll the Dark Knight's dice twice.
Yep.
And he did that a couple of times, and we rolled terribly. We always got the 2 cubes, which just kept the progression going. Now, one thing to note is that the 2-player track is shorter than the 4-player track. So it definitely feels even more accelerated in the 2-player version of the game if you're rolling that
2 dice, 2 cubes.
2 cubes all the time.
So, I mean, for me, that speed was a blessing and a curse. When it comes to when the Batman Who Laughs comes out, you basically have 6 cubes, and I was going to say 6 turns. It's not 6 turns. It's however many turns based on what you...
I'd say you've got, on average, 3 or 4 turns. It's going to really depend on your rolls. You double up on 2 cubes, you may be dead.
Yeah. So that was, the frustrating part, I think, for us at least 2 playthroughs that we did where we're basically...
Well, yeah, we had the Red Death still on the board, and we kept rolling the dice.
Double rolling. So that was a little frustrating.
I really, just because you were talking about the end game, I really like how the Batman Who Laughs copies the mechanics from Voldemort, where you've got to hit him. You can only hit him once. We'll talk about that in a moment. But he was a lot easier to hit. The fact that it was just 3 of any of the resources other than the Wonder Woman symbol, the Power Team symbol, it definitely felt like you had a chance to beat him. So despite being sped up and maybe not being able to build your team, you always feel like you're in the game. We lost by maybe, sometimes it was like 1 hit.
Yeah. And for that, I think that's one of the ways that they've balanced it out. I think if he was harder to hit, you would have to make sure that you wouldn't be able to power up your team quite as much. Mm-hmm. I think one of the balance that we have to do a little bit more in this case, strategy-wise, is maybe to upgrade your team a little less and fight villains a little bit more.
It's difficult because the villains, you can only deal 1 damage to them at a time. So,
well, unless you're Flash.
Yes, you've got Flash, and Wonder Woman can also deal an extra damage to a villain, because the rulebook says assign damage. You assign damage when you use your dice. Now, she's able to add damage to the villain. So why don't you tell them how you defeated the Batman Who Laughs in our 4-player game, when I thought we had a good chance of winning, but we
were pretty beat up, and Jason did 1 damage to him, and then it was my turn, and I ended up having a really good roll and was able to. I had Flash on my team. Wonder Woman rolled well, was able to do 3 damage,
and 2 rerolls as well.
So I mean, I was able to do 3 damage to him, which allowed us to defeat him. So that was our only victory in this game. So on a positive, I mean, it was fun playing with these characters. As I think people know, I've discussed it in other Batman reviews. Batman and DC as a whole are probably not my preferred movies.
But she loves Wonder Woman.
I love Wonder Woman and I love Superman. And I've enjoyed the DC TV shows. But I'm not a big DC fan otherwise. I'm not a huge Batman fan, but this guy loves Batman.
I do. We've got the Batman game that I'm eagerly awaiting for season 3 to finally make it co-op, and we have the Batman the Animated Series game coming.
So that being said, I really enjoyed playing Wonder Woman. That was it was fun, and
you also played Hawkgirl.
I did. She wasn't bad either. So the characters are fun and the power-ups are fun. And I mean, if you like the other Rising games, then if you've watched our reviews, you know that we've enjoyed the other ones. As frustrating as they were, I still have a soft spot in my heart for Thanos Rising. I still enjoy playing it at 2 players. I will never play it at 4 players again. So it was fun playing those characters. I mean, and I love, from a production value, this is dark, and I think it's intended. However, I do love that statue, and we played with my parents, and my mom said, "Oh, that's pretty." Now, I wouldn't have described it as pretty, but it's definitely interesting statue. This
is the best statue, bar none, that they produce. Production quality is great. Using the comic book art on all of the characters works perfectly. Talking about the different characters that you get to play, I played as Batman as well as Green Lantern. I have to say, though, I do think you absolutely need to play this game as Batman, and you need to also try to get as many of the determination team dice, the purple dice, as possible, because in our 4-player game, one of the reasons why we had a chance to win still was I was able to reduce the Dark Knights track by 1 from that ability 2 times, which is a very big difference maker. Makes sense. This is a Batman themed, game from a Batman story, so Batman should be one of the more prominent characters. You've got a great selection of DC heroes. All the big ones are there. You even have the Joker, who can be recruited, and I love the fact that the Joker's ability is strong by giving you an extra die, but if he's teamed up with Batman, you get 2 dice. So you've got those 2 adversaries working together to defeat the evil version of themselves, which has happened before. Well, not the evil version of themselves, but them teaming up against a greater foe. And I love how that's reflected in the power level of the characters. All the abilities I thought were fairly well rounded as well.
I was a little frustrated. Wonder Woman requires 2 power dice. I get it; they're more frequent, but it was.
And she starts with an extra one.
To get two power symbols to be able to heal, versus everybody else that just needs 1. But whatever, it's all good.
Yes. Well, that's something you can always house rule if you're trying to make it a little easier.
Nah.
Now the one thing I will say about this is I do like the Dark Knights track, and if, for example, you're picking this up for yourself and you want to maybe figure out a way to speed up a Rising game for your younger kids, if you'd like to actually play it with kids that are younger. Well, I have not seen SpongeBob Plankton Rising. That is the one for kids, but you could always try to make your own track, sort of adapt it, use some of the ideas as what you see from this track to another game like Harry Potter or Thanos Rising, and put out the villains on there. You might have to make your own Thanos card or decide that he's defeated at a certain point, but I really, really like the fact that track makes the game far more playable. And what do I mean by playable is our 4-player games of Thanos Rising very rarely went under 2 hours. I think you actually could play it in an hour, but pretty much at that point you're like roll, 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 grab the character, roll, 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 grab the character. Won't have that much time for table talk or discussing any strategy.
Yep.
I really don't have anything else to add.
Neither do I.
The bonus tokens are pretty much identical to what you have in all the other games. The dice, the symbols, similar.
The cubes.
Yeah. Oh, the one thing I think we should talk about is the Dark Knights villains, because they work differently than any other villains, really. They're a little similar to the Blackguard, but there are so many of them in the game. What did you think of them? And also the art, those evil versions.
I mean, there was dark. I didn't really couldn't tell the difference between the different from, unless you're really inspecting them more closely. But their powers were definitely annoying. I think they're supposed to be. I mean, they're the ones that deal an extra 2 damage across the board. I almost got killed twice by that villain. They're definitely very strong. I think honestly, I think the villains are pretty tough in most of the games anyway.
I think the easiest one was Harry Potter,
yeah.
But you had a very strong final boss compared to the others. No, I think that's the last thing we need to mention. So go for it. Give it your score. What do you rate?
I start again.
Yes, that's the way it works.
It's a 7.
Wow. It was a Batman game, a dark theme. When she saw this game, I thought she was going to go for a 6, but...
No,
so why is it a 7? I'm curious.
It's a 7 because it's a Rising game. I enjoy the Rising games. It's not my favorite of the Rising games, but as I said, it's a quick play, which for me is a bonus. As I said recently, it's a bonus for sure when we can get a game to the table and play it, in under 2 hours. I do love my long marathon games, but there's a time and a place for a quicker game.
I gotta say, this one actually is a 7.5. I was almost maybe giving it an 8. It's mechanically, it is my favorite Rising game, just because the way the track works. But there's a little bit of a drawback to it, because I feel like the pressure is a little too high on the 2-player side, and that's the player count that we will primarily play it at. So instead of being an 8 and being potentially my best reviewed one, the 7.5, it is a great addition to anyone that likes the Rising games. Add it to your collection. Also, if you're just looking to get your first Rising game, and I would say I'd probably recommend this one over any of the others, unless there's actually a theme that you prefer.
I was going to say, if you like Batman, then yes, this is definitely one to consider. But if you are a huge fan of Marvel or Harry Potter or Star Wars, we haven't played that one. But
yes, we have played that one.
We did?
Yeah, we have the review.
Play so many games. I would, I like I said, the Thanos Rising still has a place in my heart, as well as the Death Eaters Rising. So I mean, I think it is definitely to consider because of the speed, and if that's something you that would be important for you, then yeah, definitely. And if you love DC and Batman, then it's a no-brainer.
No, I agree with you. Like I said, I just think it's the best one because of the speed of play and that mechanic. But thematically, if you like something better, as Julie said, pick one of the other ones up instead. But you would not be going wrong by having, let's say, this one for your quick sessions and playing a marathon 4-player session of Thanos Rising.
Or 2-player Thanos Rising.
Yeah, which is actually significantly quicker.
Yes.
All right, Julie, so what time is it?
It's time to remind people to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified when we have some new content for you.
You can take a look down below in the video description for links to all of our social media feeds, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you'd like to see pictures of Julie and I playing The Batman Who Laughs Rising, Thanos Rising, Death Eaters Rising, Star Wars Dark Side Rising. Well, they're all on those feeds. Maybe not Death Eaters. I don't remember. Last time I put pictures up. And then popping up in front of me, you're going to have links to our previously released content. The one here will be our most recently released video. And in front of Julie, I think we've done enough games now. It'll be our Rising playlist. So you'll be able to take a look at any of the other Rising games that we have reviewed and played.
And now it's time to grab our drinks.
Grab our best friend and still alive hero. I punched your chair there because I was feeling heroic, wanted to smash it.
And we're going to keep playing games.
Yeah. Keep playing games. Definitely going to be playing this one. I wonder what's next from the Rising series.